It's just kind of strange, yeah. It's weird to think about how many people are dead. Because it's like a normal thing. You're like, oh yeah, they're all dead. You know, or people are like, wait, how many of your friends died? You're like, I don't know, I lost count. They're like, doesn't that like, that's weird, right? And it's like not in base jumping culture. So, but it also turns people off. And that's the weird part. Like eventually you don't feel it anymore. And that's when it starts to get weird. I am Andy Lewis. I am basically a guy who base jumps. I guess who I am in terms of a base jumper is kind of a reckless deviant is kind of what I'm known as in the community. I opened up like kind of a new idea of what to do base jumping, just different styles of jumping and different forms of how to look at it. I had an accident when I was in high school where I crashed on a mountain board and I like ripped my face off and I like had all these wounds and scratches and I knocked my teeth out and I was pretty fucked up for like a year where I was kind of like the elephant man. And during that time I realized that I hadn't really done much in my life. There's like all these things that were playing in my mind. Like if I had died that day mountain boarding, I would have missed out on so much of my life. And so that kind of transitioned into me wanting to do more, put myself out there more and be less afraid of the consequences because like ultimately you're gonna kind of die short of what you wanted. I really believed in like art, creativity, free thought, and kind of pushed myself to think outside the box. And that kind of drew me not only here, but it kind of like drew the character I am within the sports that I'm in. Base jumping is like the touchdown. That's like the touchdown dance of all the sports. It's a really, really risky and fun and playful and kind of devious sport. There is this kind of like nagging sensation to always make it more intense. It's like playing chess with a revolver where it's like whoever loses this game is gonna take the gun and there's only 2 bullets in it. You could live, but you gotta spin it and put it against your head. And like that kind of like game that you play is so intense. Pushing free solo highlining, I used to be like, today's a good day to die. It's like, at least I know how I wanna go. And I'm not afraid of dying highlining. The idea is to push the perspective of like what's possible. Like if you know you're not gonna die, then what can you do in the face of death? Yeah, I don't even know how many friends I've had die now. More than 30, probably close to 50 of like pretty close friends. When Daniel died, November 23rd, 2013, that was the hardest I'd ever been hit by death. And I don't think I'd ever really seen death before that either. Not having experienced death face to face, you don't really understand what's happening or how much it affects other people. I used to buy these little Smurfs for people who died. So they have like a parachute on them. It's like a parachute Smurf. And it's kind of like a rare Smurf. They're like $10 to buy this Smurf. And every friend who died, I'd like buy this Smurf. And it got to a point where it was kind of sad. I had like an army of Smurfs. And I looked at the parachute Smurfs, and they're all the same. And that's what actually kind of like hit me. That's why I stopped buying them, was it made me realize that I feel like the deaths became the same. Like I couldn't tell the difference between all of my friends. And so I started giving away the Smurfs to people who were close to me. And it started to embody, instead of other people, it started to embody like my metaphorical self so that people would have a piece of me once I died inevitably. Because it's like a matter of time before I die. Base jumping is not something that is hard to do. It's one of the easier sports that you can possibly do. So you don't have to be physically fit. You definitely don't have to be mentally fit. And it's actually easier to base jump when you're mentally unstable. So like, if you're sad and you got nothing to lose in your head and in your heart, it's real easy to base jump. Real easy. It's like this ass backwards thing where it's like, the more fucked up you are, the easier and better you are at base jumping. That's the problem with the base jumping community. I would say that the base jumping community and mental health are kind of like opposite ends of the spectrum. Like, I don't think the base jumping community has a grasp of mental health. I think it's more just like drug, sex, rock and roll, party, fucking life is short, live it fully. Uh, like mental health, what's mental health? Like we're all fucking happy as shit kind of thing when everybody's just like crippled. And so, yeah, I think that base jumpers try to be cool. I'm not saying every base jumper's mentally ill. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that it is easier to base jump when you're sad. It for sure is. And base jumping isn't like a control of your physical body as much as it is a control of your emotional output and intake. I think that drugs and alcohol play a part in base jumping too, because in base jumping, it's so easy to feel good by risking your life and doing something dangerous. And the more that you do dangerous things, the more that you need dangerous things. Right now, my relationship with drugs and alcohol is none. So I'm not doing drugs or alcohol. Whereas my relationship with drugs and alcohol before was damn near competitive. Who could drink more, who could do more, who had the most drugs, who had the best drugs, who could have the most sex, the most partying, all of that. You still are feeling good about yourself because it's pleasurable. And so the pleasure factor of like chasing pleasure, you're missing the pain part, or you're missing the discipline. You're missing not saying no. You're missing holding your standards. You're missing holding your values. You're missing you. And so by missing you and trying to find you externally, that's where abuse comes into play with drugs and alcohol, and especially sex. The world becomes a really, really dark place if you can't find light within yourself. And so that's where the sobriety comes in, is that like, there is a light, there is passion, there is love, there is acceptance. You do matter, you are enough, but you also have to show up for other people. You have to like give back, you have to volunteer, you have to work hard on yourself, you have to work hard on your business. You don't have to do those things, technically speaking, you don't have to do anything, but those things do make you feel more wanted, more accepted, more seen, more valuable. And that's how you actually improve your mental life. What do you do to move on? Well, I would say that like, it's kind of a flawed question because you never really do move on. So like, there's not really like moving on after the loss. It's more like learning to endure the loss. In understanding health and how healthy you are right now and what you can do in this moment, and in understanding what you have in this moment is something you dreamed of beforehand, all of the death actually makes you more grateful for life. It makes you less afraid to hold yourself back. It makes you more willing to tell people how you feel. It makes you more unapologetically yourself, which in turn makes your life more genuine. And so I don't think that death is something that you have to move on from. And that's like kind of the wrong mindset. It's like not enough just to bear what has happened to you. You have to learn to love it because that is you. Hello, Base Jump Moab. Heck yeah, well, I'll text you the booking information and you get back to me when you can, and can't wait to huck you off a cliff. Hell yeah. Sweet, I'll see you soon. Beautiful.